The two new upcoming packages. Part one, the physical infrastructure package, which is $1.2 trillion and has now officially passed in the Senate and will now go to the House of Representatives. Although the Senate is now working on passing part two, the stimulus package, they have now passed the first portion, which is kind of the first step of the next stimulus package, the $3.5 trillion package. They have not passed the full stimulus package. It's just kind of the first step in a multi-step process of the $3.5 trillion package. They actually worked overnight until like 4 or 5 a.m. last night. You will hear directly from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer in exactly what they're doing with the voting process on the $3.5 trillion stimulus package. This is the largest stimulus package yet to date. So for comparison, the first stimulus check package, the one passed underneath former President Trump, the first stimulus check, that was $2.3 trillion. The second stimulus check package was like $960 billion. It was less than $1 trillion. Okay. And the third stimulus check package was $1.9 trillion. Okay. This next stimulus package has been announced at $3.5 trillion. Okay. So just for comparison, it's the largest stimulus package ever. Yeah. I think it's the largest package ever in the history of the United States. I'll have to research that if there's been a infrastructure package or a package ever in the history of the entire United States passed ever. Like not a stimulus package, but just an entire bill ever passed. I'll have to research that. But it's definitely the largest stimulus package passed ever. Of course, it's not passed yet. They're going through that process and they're going through the negotiation stage. Now, remember, this stimulus package will be passed through the reconciliation process, which was the same process that the third stimulus check package was passed. And what is going to happen, and this is exactly what happened with the first step of the vote. And what happened was, this is what happened with the third stimulus check package, and it's also what happened with the first part and the first vote that happened yesterday, is there was 50 Democrats that voted yes. This happened yesterday in the first part of the vote. 50 Democrats voted yes, and 50 Republicans voted no. It was actually 49 Republicans that voted no yesterday. There was one Republican that wasn't there. So 49 Republicans voted no yesterday, and so it moved on to the next step of the process. If there was 50 Republicans that were there yesterday to vote no, then there would have been a tiebreaker vote, and it would have been the Vice President of the United States, which would have been Kamala Harris, who happens to be the Vice President at this particular moment. And then the Vice President of the United States, who happens to be a Democrat, Vice President Kamala Harris, would have stepped in and made the tiebreaker vote for the 51st vote, the tie-breaking vote, which is the reconciliation process, and then it would have moved forward with the 51st vote. So because all 50 Republicans weren't there, just the 50 votes was the majority vote with the reconciliation process. So normally, without the reconciliation process, you need 60 votes to pass a normal bill in the Senate. So that is how the infrastructure package, the physical infrastructure package, was passed just yesterday, actually. So that passed with 69 votes. You need 60 votes to pass a normal bill. But with a budget reconciliation process, you can pass a couple bills. It's like 2 to 3 bills per year. And I say 2 to 3 bills because it seems to vary. The Senate parliamentarian makes these rulings, and sometimes it changes per year. So it's like 2 to 3 bills per year that you can pass these special budget reconciliation processes where you can pass bills with only 50 to 51 votes. And that is how they're going to pass this next stimulus package. So I hope all that makes sense. I know this might get a little bit confusing. We're going to be hearing from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer here in a little bit. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. We're going to be hearing a lot of big news on the stimulus package as they're going to be writing the bill here within the next I don't know, a few days or so. There's going to be another vote or two here within the next, I don't know, few hours to few days. It literally could be today or tomorrow as they go through the voting process, the reconciliation process. and then they're going to kind of go towards putting the bill together. And that's going to be very, very big news. And then even after they put the bill together, they're going to be changing the bill, amending the bill. The Senate's going to pass the bill, and then it's going to go to the House of Representatives, where they're going to pass the stimulus package and the infrastructure package kind of side by side. And then remember, the House can add things or subtract things. We've seen that in the past where it went in reverse order last time around, where the House passed the bills first. This time it's going in reverse orders, where the stimulus package is going to be passed by the Senate first, and then it's going to go to the House. So the House of Representatives can add extra stimulus items or subtract things depending on what the House wants to do. It seems this time around that the House is a little bit leaning towards more stimulus items. We don't know what that's going to be because we don't even know what the bill entails yet, because they haven't even wrote the bill yet. So yes, they are actually passing the initial proceedings, the initial kind of motions to proceed. I know this might get a little bit confusing, but kind of the more you hear this, the more you'll understand. They're actually voting on the bill without having a bill, if that makes sense. I understand this is how Congress works, and this is how the infrastructure bill worked as well. I know I don't make the rules, I don't make the law. I'm just here reporting to you guys what is going on. But yeah, Senate Democrats approve the budget reconciliation or budget resolution teeing up the $3.5 trillion spending plan. Senate Democrats approved a budget resolution early Wednesday morning that will allow them to pass a $3.5 trillion spending plan without Republican support later this year. The Senate voted 50-49 to adopt the resolution, capping off a chaotic hours-long debate on the floor, during which senators voted on dozens of largely non-binding amendments that offer a preview of the fight to come on the spending bill. Though the budget resolution doesn't get signed into law yet, it's the first step towards bypassing the 60-vote threshold required to pass most legislation in the Senate. Democrats will try to unify their entire 50-member caucus to pass the spending bill on their own. This legislation will not only provide enormous support to the kids of this country, to the parents of this country, and to the elderly people of this country, but it will also, I hope, restore the belief that in America we have a government that works for all, not just for few, said Senator Bernie Sanders, chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. However, Senator Joe Manchin, sends a warning shot over serious concerns about the $3.5 trillion spending plan. We knew that Joe Manchin and maybe Kyrsten Sinema, although she did become the leader, the Democrats kind of made a pretty strategic move over the infrastructure plan. They actually made her the leader of the Democratic negotiator team. Was a pretty slick move of the Democratic team. They're like, hey, we know that Kyrsten Sinema is going to be a kind of thorn in our side. Let's make her the leader of the Democrats for the infrastructure plan, part one. I kind of made her the leader there. They're like, yeah, she's going to be a thorn in our side. Let's make her the leader of the negotiating team for the infrastructure plan. Like, you know, kind of give her some power there so that she won't like be a thorn in our side for the part two plan. So what happens? Joe Manchin steps up and becomes the thorn in our side. But I think we all kind of knew that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema would give us a little bit of problems, right? It would just be all too easy if they would just make it easy on everybody, right? But I kind of think we all knew that this would happen a little bit, that they would have to negotiate with Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, or maybe we'd have to grease their palms a little bit, right? They're always kind of looking for maybe a little bit of handouts, you know how congressmen and congresswomen are, right? Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, is sending a warning shot to President Biden and congressional leaders, saying he has serious concerns about spending $3.5 trillion on a massive package that Democrats want to pass later this year. Manchin, they say later this year because honestly, they just don't know when it's going to pass, whether it's going to be today, tomorrow, the next day, next week, 2 weeks from now. I mean, that's just pretty much some point in the future. Manchin said in a statement early Wednesday that he has serious concerns about the grave consequences if Congress decides to spend another $3.5 trillion, which, again, they said the same thing about the third stimulus check package. If you remember, if you've been watching the show for a while, Joe Manchin literally was saying the exact same things about the third stimulus check package over and over and over and over. And it was kind of like so redundant, but yet ultimately he ended up deciding to pass the third stimulus check package. And ultimately, you actually, if you were unemployed last year, you actually could probably thank him for that $10,200 unemployment tax-free provision, because he's probably the one that added that in at the very last moment. Although you might be able to not thank him for that lowering of the income threshold for the third stimulus check, when they lowered the income threshold from 100,000 to 80,000 for the third stimulus check. Yeah, so the third stimulus, if you're following me here, the third stimulus check, remember the second stimulus check originally went out to people making up to $100,000. And they had to negotiate with Joe Manchin at the very last moment while they were in the voting process of the third stimulus check. And Joe Manchin pretty much kind of said behind closed doors, we don't really know what was said, but this is pretty much probably what happened. He pretty much said that he doesn't think that stimulus checks should go out to people making $100,000. And a lot of people agree. So what they did is they lowered the income threshold from people making $100,000 down to $80,000. So for people that were not head of households, if you're just a single filer, the income threshold was cut off. It started at 75,000 and was reduced. So at anywhere from 75,000 to 80,000, you got a reduced check, and at 80,000, you no longer got a check. Now, if you're a single filer head of household, it goes all the way up to 112,500. But basically, they reduced that, saying if you're a single filer, you really don't need a stimulus check if you're making $100,000. Okay, so they reduced that. Now, there's a very, very possibility that for the fourth stimulus check, if and when that goes out, if they include that in this next package, that they could do that again. And same thing, they might reduce it again, or something along those lines, and just maybe even reduce it a little bit more, saying people that are making $80,000 might not need a stimulus check this time around, or couples making $160,000. They might send out stimulus checks, but just maybe not to couples making $160,000, or maybe not to single filers, head of households making $112,500. Because again, there's a lot of people hurting, but this is kind of the chatter going around. There's also some chatter going, and again, I don't make the rules. I'm just kind of telling you the chatter that's going around. I'm kind of just repeating what I hear, is that they might include stimulus checks, but maybe not include an additional stimulus checks for children, because children are getting the $3,000 to $3,600 per year with the child tax credits. Okay, remember, those are only passed for this 1 year, and they're probably going to extend that till 2025. Remember, they don't need to extend that, but they're probably going to extend that. That is a stimulus provision that was passed with the third stimulus check package. They're probably going to extend that in this next stimulus package as well. Okay, so children are probably going to continue to get $3,000 to $3,600 per year every single year in this next package. So there is some chatter going around that if they include a stimulus check in this next package, that they could reduce the cost of the stimulus check by not having an additional stimulus check for children. So send out stimulus check to low and middle income adults, but not include an additional check for children, because children are already getting the $3,000 to $3,600 per year for the child tax credit. So send out stimulus checks to low and middle income adults, but not to middle high income adults, couples making $160,000 a year. Maybe reduce that income threshold a little bit and not include children, because children are already getting the $3,000 to $3,600 per year. Now, I am not saying that that is exactly what is going to happen. This is just some of the chatter that I'm hearing, okay? If that makes sense. Okay, I actually hope that there's going to be stimulus checks included. I hope that there's going to be child tax credits included. I hope that there's going to be adult tax credits included. There's enough money for all of it. There's $3.5 trillion. It is actually the largest stimulus package yet to date. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of money in there. So yeah, I don't know. We're going to see here. They're in the voting process. You can see that they just passed the vote yesterday, 50 to 49 on the stimulus package. So yesterday they passed the infrastructure package, the final vote. The infrastructure package is fully passed in the Senate. Okay, that'll now go to the House. One, and if the House, they're talking about possibly passing it early in the House and just getting it done with, but I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, I think they're going to kind of hold it hostage and pass it with the stimulus package so that it kind of needs to be voted together as a package combo. If that makes sense. I also think that they're going to continue voting on the next stimulus package here, and then they're going to have to piece together what's the bill. Okay, the bill is going to take some time. I don't know if they're writing the bill right now, how that's going to work. They're going to have to get Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on board, and then I think they're going to see a big push for a stimulus check here, because honestly, I think there's way too many Democrats that want a stimulus check. That's why I've saved all these different headlines that say this. Over 80 different Democratic lawmakers support stimulus checks. Now, here's the thing. They need every single senator to vote yes for the stimulus package, okay? Every single one of them. So if one person in the Senate demands that they include a stimulus check, I mean, they have to do it, okay? Now, you can negotiate with Joe Manchin and say, well, listen, Joe Manchin, we'll just move money from, we'll include a stimulus check in there, but we'll just take money away from something else. So we won't, like, to make Joe Manchin happy, we'll say, listen, Joe Manchin, we're not going to add additional money for a stimulus check just so we make you happy. We'll just shift money away from like climate change or some of the infrastructure money, because there is infrastructure money in there. We'll just shift money away from something else to help people. You know what I'm saying? So that's how they do that. And remember, they're going to need like 99% of the money, 99% of the Democrats from the House to also vote yes. So if we get like the Democratic Progressive Caucus, which is like 100 members in the House, if we just get a couple of them that demand a stimulus check in there, they're going to have to put it in there. And remember, there's over 80 of them that support a stimulus check. So again, if we just get a few of them that demand they be in there, they're going to have to put it in there. And remember, stimulus checks are really just one of the items on the block. I mean, really, we have all these different items on here. And remember, the tax credits, remember, child tax credits are basically stimulus checks or checks from the government, money from the government, checks, whatever you want to call them. And they're also saying that adult tax credits are going to be in this next package, as well as lowering prescription drug prices are going to be in this next package. Medicare expansion is going to be in this next package. 2 years of free college is going to be in this next package. Free preschool is going to be in this next package. Home buyer credits are going to be in this next package. And then what did they say? What was that wording on the package? What was it? Debt forgiveness? Or was it? I'll have to go back and look at the bill or the framework. What was it? Debt forgiveness is going to be in this next package, or was it debt reduction? I'll have to go back and look at the bill and see what it says. But there's going to be a lot of things in this package. And honestly, they're going to probably put money in people's pockets in several different ways, in creative ways. Ways like child tax credits, ways like adult tax credits, ways like lowering prescription drug prices, ways like free preschool, ways like free college, ways like Medicare expansion, possible Social Security raises. I mean, honestly, we don't even know all the things that they're going to put in here. We do know that it's probably going to be the largest stimulus package ever at 3.5 trillion. Maybe they negotiate it down a little bit and it ends up at 3.2 trillion or even $3 trillion. I mean, anything over 2.3 trillion would be the largest stimulus package ever. And that goes all the way back from the first stimulus package.